Part 8. Shock, the love letter was sent to the Empress by mistake. Author, Mozuzi. Chapter 72. The grand ceremony of the Flower Holy Land is about to take place. Early the next morning, Empress Kingu went to the Holy Land of Flowers alone. There were 10 other disciples who went with Nai-Chen this time. Among them, Mu Xiling was naturally at the top of the list in terms of qualifications and strength. The spirit boat slowly floated into the sky, and Elder Wang repeatedly warned. If you go to the Holy Land of Flowers, you will encounter various forces. You must remember to act with caution, avoid causing trouble, and at the same time show the majesty of Tianyun Palace. I know. Nai-Chen waved his hand and left Tianyun Palace with the spirit boat. The spirit ship, built with various formations and precision methods, can fly much faster than ordinary Xianyuan realm monks. In a short time, he crossed the mountains and rivers and flew a long distance. Seeing that the spirit ship was gradually becoming stable, Mu Xiling quietly came to Nai-Chen's side. The love story told by K-Ruling really moved her. The only pity is that brother Nai clearly loves K-Ruling, but he dare not express his feelings. Taking advantage of this God-given opportunity, Mu Xiling desperately wanted to make this wonderful marriage happen. Although the Empress is extremely opposed to the relationship between men and women, if she succeeds, she will definitely be extremely happy at the wedding hall of Nai-Chen and K-Ruling, and even appreciate herself extremely for it. After all, it is not an easy thing to make a couple get married. But before that, it would be better to test Nai-Chen first. Hello, senior brother Nai. Mu Xiling approached Nai-Chen with a smile and said hello. Who are you? My name is Mu Xiling, and I am the junior sister who has always admired senior brother Nai. Oh, junior sister Mu Xiling. Nai-Chen nodded calmly, but seemed to have no intention of getting closer. Faced with such a beautiful person, he didn't strike up a conversation. It seems that senior brother Nai is indeed a gentleman. Mu Xiling was very satisfied, and then she took the next step in her mind and asked. By the way, senior brother Nai, junior sister K-Ruling has been here for several days. Why haven't you visited her yet? Huh? K-Ruling came to Tianyun Palace. Nai-Chen was slightly confused. Senior brother, don't you know? I don't know. Mu Xiling looked a little embarrassed. But senior brother Nai, don't you have a secret crush on junior sister Ruoling? How come you don't even know about such an important thing? Who has a crush on her? Junior sister, did you make something wrong? Nai-Chen cried out in his heart, damn it. You can eat whatever you want, but you can't talk nonsense. Fortunately, Empress Kingu went to the Holy Land of Flowers alone today and did not take this ship. Otherwise, I might really have to kneel on the washboard today. Mu Xiling was completely stunned. No? But senior brother, didn't you touch her head? Touch your head? Nai-Chen hesitated for a moment. If pushing it away counted as touching, then it could barely be considered as touching. But Nai-Chen was speechless for a while. What does touching your head have to do with liking? Upon hearing these words, Mu Xiling's expression suddenly changed and she took half a step back, her expression full of astonishment. She felt shaken in her mind. Obviously, he touches the girl's head to win her heart, and then he says that he has never liked her. Isn't this kind of behavior a scumbag? Could it be that senior brother Nai is really the kind of scumbag who puts on pants and doesn't recognize anyone else? But junior sister Ruoling is still so innocent and kind, she must not be deceived. If senior brother Nai is really a scumbag, wouldn't the future of innocent junior sister Ruoling be? Mu Xiling gritted her teeth slightly. She would never allow such a thing to happen. Even if he sacrifices himself, he must find a way to find out Nai-Chen's true thoughts. It's fine if you don't like it. Then, senior brother Nai, what do you think of me? Do I still conform to senior brother's aesthetics? Suddenly, Mu Xiling's face showed a bit of charm, and she gently opened her gauze-like sleeves, revealing her snow-white shoulders. While speaking, she twisted her waist enchantingly with a provocative look in her eyes. However, Nai Chen looked at her as if she was mentally retarded. After all, he had seen this dance countless times in the dance area before he came to this world. Not to mention this kind of gauze dress, it's just the kind that's not worn. Ahem. Realizing that Nai Chen had no intention of wavering, Mu Xiling was slightly startled. Could it be that he really misunderstood that senior brother Nai was not a scumbag who was greedy for beauty? No, we still need to make final confirmation. Mu Xiling came closer, with her shoulder lightly pressed against Nai Chen's shoulder through the thin gauze, and her smile was charming and enchanting. By the way, senior brother Nai, I suddenly remembered that there are several very good massage parlors in our hometown. The girls inside are more beautiful than the last, and they are more skillful and provide considerate service. I wonder if senior brother Nai is interested? Hearing these words, Nai Chen suddenly turned his head and coughed twice. The massage parlor you mentioned, is it serious? Brother Nai, why are you asking this? Mu Xiling was a little confused by the tricky question. Nai Chen, I won't go to the serious ones. Okay. Senior brother Nai, you really have evil intentions. Mu Xiling suddenly became excited. For a moment, she almost thought that Nai Chen was a gentleman who was born out of mud and had no interest in beauty. In the end, it turned out that I was overthinking it. This senior brother Nai looks dignified and righteous on the surface, but in fact he is really a scumbag who enjoys capturing the hearts of girls. I didn't expect you to be such a person, senior brother. When I go back, I must report to the empress. No matter what, I won't let you succeed in attacking junior sister Ruoling. Mu Xiling retreated one after another, her eyes wet. The scene was extremely embarrassing for a while. Boom. But at this moment, a violent shockwave suddenly hit. Instantly, the entire spirit ship shook and was almost overturned by the oncoming airflow. Fortunately, the canvas with the three big characters Tianyun Palace printed on it emitted light, and the spirit ship was quickly stabilized with a steady stream of spiritual energy. What happened? The disciples on the ship were startled and hurriedly ran back, trying to find the source. The spirit ship was built by the Supreme Elder himself. As long as there is no huge collision, it should be very stable. What happened? Mu Xiling's expression changed, and she also forgot about the scumbag and hurriedly ran to the side of the ship. But when she looked at the side of the spirit ship, her expression suddenly changed drastically. Shock, the love letter was sent to the Empress by mistake. Author, Mozuzi. Chapter 73. The reason why the spirit ship shook violently and almost fell was the collision from another spirit ship. But when they saw the spirit ship that was colliding, the disciples of Tianyun Hall on the ship were all stunned at the same time. Especially Mu Xiling, looking at the sail flag hanging on the spirit ship, her expression suddenly changed, and even her cheeks looked a little pale. The spirit ship is seriously damaged, repair it quickly. Otherwise, it will land soon. Several disciples who reacted shouted. In an instant, everyone hurried to the side of the ship, filled the damaged hull with wood, and continuously injected spiritual energy to try to fill the hole. Although the spirit ship was much more stable, it was hit at a very critical hub. Even if these disciples tried their best to remedy it, they could only barely maintain the stability of the spirit ship. I am afraid that it will not be long before the spiritual energy in the spirit ship will drain out and it will be forced to land. On the other side, the spirit ship that was the culprit turned around again, and the bow was covered with a faint light, as if it was not damaged at all. Did they do it on purpose? Nai Chen frowned slightly. Maybe, that is the spirit ship of Lei Yan Valley. Mu Xiling pursed her lips lightly, her face pale. Lei Yan Valley? Why do I see that your expression is not quite right? Could it be that Lei Yan Valley has some grudges with us? Nai Chen noticed something was wrong at a glance. In his impression, the strength of Tianyun Palace is enough to rank among the best in the world. More importantly, his wife is not only in charge of Tianyun Palace. There are also the 12 Xingluo palaces distributed everywhere, and each Xingluo palace has extremely strong strength. If all these forces are added together, it will be so huge that it is unimaginable. There is no reason to be afraid of other forces. Mu Xiling hesitated for a long time before finally saying, "Brother Nai joined the sect late, so he may not know. It's not that Tianyun Hall is afraid of their Laiyan Valley, but we don't want to cause trouble for the Empress." Cause trouble? Well, in fact, the power of Laiyan Valley belongs to Emperor Laiyan. And this Emperor Laiyan was one of the 3 emperors who joined forces to besiege the Empress. It is said that at that time, the power of Tianyun Hall had not reached the level it is now. In order to prevent Tianyun Hall from continuing to grow, the 3 emperors, including Emperor Laiyan, joined hands and tried to suppress the Empress. But the Empress was guarding Tianyun Hall alone at the time, and she fought against the 3 emperors alone without losing. But in the end, although she successfully repelled the 3 emperors, the rumor spread all over the world. But the Empress also left indelible injuries in this battle, and the cold poison has not completely dissipated until now. After hearing these words, Nai Chen's eyes gradually became solemn. He instantly recalled the function of the 7-colored nirvana flower, and the slightly changed expression of Empress Qingyu when she took the 7-colored nirvana flower from his hand during their first date. "So, you are worried that the 3 emperors will seize the excuse to collude and besiege the Empress together, so you don't want to conflict with Laiyan Valley." Suddenly, Nai Chen's tone became extremely cold. "That's right." Mu Xiling nodded, noticing Nai Chen's cold face. Senior brother Nai is still as handsome as ever. But it seemed that in just a moment, senior brother Nai's image, which was originally a bit cynical and even a bit LS, completely changed. Mu Xiling unexpectedly felt that senior brother Nai was so reassuring at this moment. In the air, there seemed to be a faint murderous intent. At this moment, the spirit ship of Laiyan Valley turned its bow, slowed down, and suddenly walked side by side with the spirit ship of Tianyun Palace. Then, several people walked onto the ship. These people were all wearing blue robes with thunder and lightning patterns painted on them. Especially the leader, his expression was arrogant, his eyebrows were full of ridicule and teasing, looking at the boat and sneered. "Oh, what a coincidence. I didn't expect to bump into the ship of Tianyun Palace by chance. However, aren't you disciples under the command of the dignified Qingyu Queen? How come the spiritual ship is broken like this and is about to fail to fly? Haha, if you ask me, you'd better not hold on and land quickly. Otherwise, when the spiritual energy in the boat is exhausted, you will all fall to death, which will not look good. Besides, you also slapped the face of the queen and embarrassed all the people of Tianyun Palace, ha ha ha." As he spoke, this person was very arrogant. His name is Cheng Xiaoming, a rare genius in Laiyan Valley. Not only has he made rapid progress in breakthroughs, but he has also achieved great understanding and accomplishments in the practice of thunder magic, and is deeply loved by Emperor Laiyan. This time, his identity alone is probably enough to represent the entire Laiyan Valley. Even Mu Xiling gritted her teeth, obviously extremely angry. But even so, no one on the ship responded to Cheng Xiaoming. After all, no one wanted to stir up unnecessary disputes and add trouble to the Empress. Can't even say a word? Could it be that the recent disciples of Tianyun Hall are all dumb? If I were to say, your Empress has been holding on for all these years. With the cold poison in her body, it is estimated that she can't hold on for much longer. If you have good eyesight, you should quickly follow me. Maybe when Tianyun Hall is breached in the future, I can still keep you alive." Seeing that no one dared to answer, Cheng Xiu became more and more arrogant and laughed unscrupulously. How dare he insult the Empress like this? Several disciples on the Tianyun Palace ship were so angry that they clenched their fists, but they could only stare at Cheng Xiaoming. There were very few people coming from Tianyun Palace this time, far less than the number of people on the other side's ship. More importantly, Cheng Xiaoming, as a future immortal seedling that Emperor Lei Yan had high hopes for, must be very strong. If a fight really breaks out, even if they can barely win, I'm afraid it will bring disaster to Tianyun Palace. Although they were angry, they could only swallow their anger. Mu Xiling was also so angry that she gritted her teeth slightly, but she didn't speak either. But at this moment, she clearly felt a murderous intent spreading. This murderous intent was extremely cold, penetrating, and becoming more and more intense. Brother Nai. She turned her head quickly and saw Nai Chen's extremely cold eyes. Brother Nai, don't be impulsive. If they find an excuse, the three emperors will join forces and the cold poison in the empress's body. Today's Tianyun Palace is no longer the same as before. 3 emperors. If they dare to come to my door, I really want to get close to avenge the empress. Nai Chen was murderous, and the lines of the Xiangu saint body on his arms were already burning, and golden light was everywhere. You little bastard, how dare you hit your own wife? Don't say it's the 3 emperors, even if there are 10 emperors, I will smash your head. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Shock, the love letter was sent to the Empress by mistake. Author, MaleProtagonist. Chapter 74. Noticing Nai Chen walking towards the bow step by step, the 2 disciples behind Cheng Xiaoming suddenly noticed an abnormal aura. Senior brother, why is there something wrong with the aura on this person? Xianyuan realm? No, it's not just the realm, his aura is too weird. Only then did Cheng Xiaoming stop his joking taunting, narrowed his eyes slightly, and looked at Nai Chen. I didn't expect that Tianyun Temple also has disciples of this level, but no matter what, with their 3-legged cat kung fu, they are not qualified to pose a threat to me. Another disciple suddenly exclaimed. I heard that there was a man from Tianyun Palace who broke into the tomb of the 3 emperors alone and caused the 9 revolutions thunder tribulation. His qualifications even aroused heavenly jealousy. Could it be possible that he is Nai Chen? Nai Chen. For a moment, Cheng Xiaoming finally showed a hint of surprise. But soon, he showed a confident smile. What about the 9 revolutions of thunder tribulation? Among this younger generation, only Yao Menjiun from the Blossom Holy Land and Prince Xu Ziyan from the Yufeng dynasty are my opponents. Others are just empty pretensions with empty names. But just after saying this, Cheng Xiaoming suddenly felt an extremely cold gaze sweep across his body. The gaze was extremely cold, as if coming from the deepest giant beast. It's chilling and can't help but feel scary. At that moment, he even felt as if he was firmly locked, and even his life was in the palm of his hand. How is that possible? Was the scene just now an illusion or not? Suddenly coming back to his senses, Cheng Xiaoming found that he had been shocked into a cold sweat. At this moment, even the palms of his hands could not help but tremble slightly. Impossible. Cheng Xiaoming gritted his teeth. What a superior being you are. He has unparalleled qualifications and is rare to find in a century. He is highly valued by Emperor Lei Yan and has even received almost all the inheritance from Emperor Lei Yan. The thunder technique he has mastered is something that few people in the world can match. It won't be long before he will be famous all over the world and become a being that everyone can only look up to. How could he meet someone so scary in a place like this? Everything I just perceived must be just a trivial illusion. What the hell, Nai Chen, who has received the inheritance of the 3 emperors, can turn him into charcoal in a matter of minutes. However, when Cheng Xiaoming was in a state of confusion, Nai Chen just looked at him calmly. Those deep eyes seemed to be calm, but they seemed to be able to see through all of Cheng Xiaoming's thoughts at a glance. System, is there any reward for killing him? Ding, I suggest the host kill him first. Then it's settled. Nai Chen suddenly stepped onto the ship's deck, and his whole body instantly burst into flames. Dare to touch your wife? Then first destroy all the heirs under these three great emperors, and then find these old guys and beat them to death. Brother Nai, don't be impulsive. Mu Xiling hurriedly wanted to step forward to stop him. Don't worry, not only them, I will also deal with those three emperors sooner or later. With a slight exertion, the ship's hull shook violently, and Nai Chen's feet were directly crushed under the powerful impact. With a bang, Nai Chen jumped directly into the air, like a huge iron ball being dropped. With one step, Lei Yang's ship sank more than 10 meters. Most of the ship's boards were cracked, and it almost fell directly. The fire wave swept over, and the Lei Yang disciples on the boat were horrified and quickly retreated. One of the disciples was a little slow and failed to escape in time, and was instantly swept away by the flames. His whole body burned quickly, completely turning into a fireball. Huge pain spread throughout his body, and he roared in pain, wanting to pray for help. But the other disciples from Leiyan Valley all stared at Nai Chen with fear and did not move at all. He's just pretending to be dead. Come on, are you still afraid of him? Looking at the disciples hiding behind, Cheng Xiaoming cursed angrily. Impossible, the aura on his body. I said he is a waste, he is a waste, Tianyuan Palace is only a waste, kill him. Otherwise, I will kill you all. Cheng Xiaoming's eyes were scarlet, and his anger and murderous intent were constantly mixed. Yes, senior brother. Several disciples did not dare to say anything and could only step forward. Kill, he just has that weird aura. He is strong on the outside and weak on the inside. He has no ability at all. Kill him. More than a dozen disciples from Leiyan Valley each controlled the thunder method and held magic weapons in their hands. He suppressed the fear in his heart and charged towards Nai Chen. There were at least a dozen of them, and the other party was about the same bone age as Cheng Xiaoming. No matter how strong you are, how strong can you be? Sorry, you are surrounded by me alone. There was a sneer on Nai Chen's lips. The next moment, the figure seemed to disappear on the spot like a ghost. The disciples tried their best to locate Nai Chen and attack with thunder. However, they found that except for a shadow of fire swaying in the wind, they were completely unable to capture it. Ah! A scream rang out before the people around him could react. Suddenly, he felt a sharp pain in his abdomen, his bones and flesh were dented, and the huge impact was filled with fire, which directly blew them away. Waves of fire scattered in all directions, and screams continued one after another. Stop fighting! Not there! Ah! In an instant, all the lackeys who had been arrogant and thought they could be protected by being Cheng Xiaoming's followers fell to the ground. Some of them were even burned to a bloody mess, leaving only the screams of pain. Nai Chen approached step by step, and his murderous intent became stronger and stronger. You are just a piece of trash under the command of that useless empress, how dare you? Cheng Xiaoming was completely engulfed by anger. 5 Thunder's Heavenly Temptation Attraction. Red Cultivation 10,000 Thunder Seal. Heaven Prison Earth Thunder Lock. All the thunder methods he learned from Emperor Lei Yan were integrated into one. 10,000 thunders become one, and the impermanence is eliminated. Die. Endless lightning gathered in one place. It came from the inheritance of Emperor Lei Yan, and Cheng Xiaoming's talent was superior to countless geniuses. This 10,000 thunder seal, which gathered countless thunder methods, seemed to contain infinite power. Boom! As if a thunderbolt had fallen from the sky, the thunderous light turned into a thunder snake that thundered down from the sky. Cheng Xiaoming smiled grimly, looking at Nai Chen's figure that was completely engulfed by the thunderbolt. That's it? It turns out that the people under the command of Empress Kingu are just a bunch of useless people. You are not worthy of calling my wife by her name. However, a cold voice came out from the diffuse thunderbolt. The next moment, in the midst of extremely horrified eyes, Cheng Xiaoming's head was grabbed by a palm covered with flames. An extremely powerful spiritual power instantly swept through all his meridians. Instantly, Cheng Xiaoming's spiritual veins all over his body shattered. Shock, the love letter was sent to the Empress by mistake. Author, MaleProtagonist. Chapter 75. Ding, destroy Cheng Xiaoming's Dao heart, get reward, copy skill times *1, skill points add 3, skill, triple hit. Note, there are 4 skill points left. Nai Chen was a little surprised. As expected of the heir of the emperor, the system rewards are luxurious. Triple hit. This reward is a little strange, and the specific function is to complete 3 spells at the same time in an instant. As for the reward for copying skills, it is much more common. Ding, the host can choose to copy any spell of the people around him and cultivate it to perfection. Nai Chen glanced around, and naturally only Cheng Xiaoming, the heir of Emperor Lei Yan, was the most suitable for copying. He recalled the spells used by Cheng Xiaoming in his mind. 5 Thunders Heavenly Temptation. Red Cultivation 10,000 Thunder Seal. Heavenly Prison Earth Mine Lock. Oh, how come I almost forgot this? Nai Chen slapped his head. I'll choose the 10,000 Thunders transformation technique he used at the end. The system was silent for a moment, and seemed extremely reluctant. The 10,000 Thunders transformation technique is not just a spell, but the supreme method formed by all the inheritances of Emperor Lei Yan. Nai Chen, but you said any spell, I want this one. System, but I want this one. Congratulations to the host, successfully learned the 10,000 Thunders transformation technique. The 10,000 Thunders transformation technique has been cultivated to perfection. After an unknown amount of silence, the system finally made a sound. It was still the same emotionless electronic sound as always, but Nai Chen seemed to hear a hint of unwillingness in it. It is estimated that this is the first time that the system has tasted the taste of being tricked by humans. Nai Chen lightly hooked his 5 fingers, and suddenly, there was a crackling sound. Red, blue, purple, and other colors of lightning intertwined and shone in one place. The lightning in his hand, which was condensed and constantly changing, seemed to contain endless power. Although Cheng Xiaoming had obtained almost all the inheritance of Emperor Lei Yan, he did not practice it very deeply. For Nai Chen, who has now practiced the 10,000 Thunders into one art to perfection, the power he can exert is even more than several times more than his. Nai Chen satisfiedly dissolved the lightning in his hand and controlled the spirit ship so that the bows of the 2 ships were together. Most of the disciples of Lei Yan Valley were seriously injured and fell to the ground in pain. Even the few who could move, seeing this situation, did not dare to get up at all, and could only lie on the ground pretending to be dead. Nai Chen picked them up one by one, like kicking a football, and kicked them one by one to the ship of Tianyun Palace. Ouch! It hurts. It hurts me to death. Wails came one after another, and Nai Chen hooked his fingers at the opposite side. Soon, the disciples of Tianyun Hall moved their boats and came to Nai Chen's side. Mu Xiling looked worried. Brother Nai, although we also think you did a great job, isn't it too heavy? What if Emperor Lei Yan uses this as an excuse? I spared his life just to wait for Emperor Lei Yan to find an excuse. Nai Chen picked up Cheng Xiaoming, who was limp like a dead dog and had broken tendons and veins, and threw him hard on the other side of the boat. With a muffled sound, Cheng Xiaoming didn't know how many bones were broken again. It is estimated that there are not many intact parts left on his body. Now that all his tendons and veins were broken by Nai Chen, he could not be repaired even if he used the best natural materials and treasures. Even if he was spared from death, it would be more painful than dying. But that's the emperor. Even if it's you, brother Nai. Mu Xiling said halfway, looking at Nai Chen's cold and deep eyes, as vast as stars, but he was hesitant to speak. For some reason, she unconsciously developed a sense of trust. She had an inexplicable strange idea. Perhaps, only senior brother Nai in the Xianyuan realm can really stop the great Emperor Lei Yan. And this idea was surprisingly consistent with the other disciples of Tianyun Hall. Throw all the disciples of Lei Yan Valley onto the broken ship and retrieve the canvas of Tianyun Hall. Driving the spirit ship, it didn't take long for the Flower Holy Land to be in front of him. At this moment, the Flower Holy Land was already a grand occasion. As one of the 8 oldest holy places, the influence of the Flower Holy Land on the righteous sects in the world is self-evident. Now the grand ceremony ordered by the saint girl herself has instantly gathered countless righteous monks in the world. All the major dynasties, sects, and even several other holy places have sent people to participate. Many small sects that did not receive an invitation are not even qualified to give gifts. The ground in the Holy Land was already covered with colorful petals, and a wide variety of delicacies were placed on the pillars formed by vines. One of the links of the grand ceremony was to provide an opportunity for the righteous monks in the world to gather together. These monks who were willing to respect the Holy Land of Flowers also talked happily, tasting the food and talking to each other. However, there were also many eyes with awe, quietly looking at the Qingyu Empress and the Flower Saint sitting in the distance. The two had completely different styles of beauty. The Flower Saint was a bit sacred and charming, which made people admire her and dare to approach her. The Qingyu Empress was cold and arrogant, like ice and frost, which made people look up to her and admire her. The petals fluttered down from the sky, coupled with her beautiful face. This scene was really beautiful. The Flower Saint smiled. Qingyu, I didn't expect you to come to the Flower Holy Land to see me in person. I missed you so much after we last met. Like a spoiled child, she gently placed her hand on Chu Qingyu's cool hand. However, it was mercilessly slapped away. Just tell me if you have something to say. Chu Qingyu's eyes were cold, and there was a hint of chill on her body. So ruthless. The Flower Holy Maiden felt wronged for a moment, but soon she regained her cheeky smile. He, actually I heard that Tianyun Hall has a new disciple recently. He is handsome, talented, and seems to have done a lot of amazing things. I am quite interested in him, so I want to ask him about something. Nai Chen? He is just an ordinary disciple of Tianyun Hall. What is there to ask? This emperor is not familiar with him. It seemed that in an instant, the coldness on Chu Qingyu's body dissipated a lot. Even her usual cold voice was a little unnatural. Really? The Saint of Flowers' eyes flashed. Forget it then. However, Qingyu, I still want to hear the story of the friend who was interested in love that you told me last time. Can you tell me in detail in the palace? Sure, but if you dare to ask some weird questions, don't blame me for killing you and your palace. Chu Qingyu's eyes were cold. Well, of course, of course. The Saint of Flowers could only nod repeatedly to show her sincerity. Shock, the love letter was sent to the Empress by mistake. Author, Mozuzi. Chapter 76. It's so beautiful. However, only Saint Fanhua can easily approach the Empress. Keep your voice down. If you are accidentally heard, you may not be able to save your life. Many monks wanted to see but did not dare to see it quietly, looking at the beautiful scene. The Qingyu Empress and Saint Fanhua walk side by side, which was a beautiful scene that could not be found in the world. It's a pity that no one in the world can approach such a desperate situation. Especially when facing the Qingyu Empress, if you are not careful and do something disrespectful, the consequences will be horrible and unimaginable. Amid the continuous praises of the crowd, Saint Fanhua quietly turned her head. Looking at the dozens of beautiful female disciples who were hiding on the side and waiting for a long time, and gave them a subtle look. As the flower saint turned around again, these female disciples immediately understood and blended into the crowd. Prince, you have realized it again. In front of a cherry tree with light pink cherry blossoms falling continuously. Minister Cao looked at Shuzian, who was breathing in front of him and exuding a mysterious feeling, with a little helplessness and accustomed to it. Ever since the prince awakened to the true body of enlightenment, he almost repeatedly exclaimed, "Prince, you have realized it again. Mountains can realize, trees can realize, stones can realize, and water can realize." Now facing the cherry blossom tree with 1,000-year spirituality in the Holy Land, the prince's enlightenment is much stronger than before. The ability of the true body of enlightenment is really terrifying. In addition to the large amount of resources provided by the royal Phoenix dynasty and the prince's luck that can be called the son of destiny. It has only been a few days, and the prince has broken through from the Yuan building realm to the Xian Yuan realm. This speed, I am afraid, has never been achieved by anyone from ancient times to the present. Minister Cao really couldn't think of anyone in the world who could be more evil than the prince's true body of enlightenment. While Minister Cao was thinking, Shuzian had slowly opened his eyes. He gently pinched a falling cherry blossom, his eyes moving, as if there was endless meaning hidden in his eyes. A luxurious brocade robe fluttered in the wind, and the gentleman was intimidating. A mysterious breath far different from the past turned into a breeze, rolling up whirlpools. The cherry blossoms fluttered with it, beautiful beyond words. There were occasional exclamations from the surroundings, but no female disciple dared to approach Shuzian easily. Because Shuzian admired Empress Qingyu and had already made a vow, the fact that he was loyal to the Empress had already spread throughout the world. Minister Cao leaned forward awkwardly. "Prince, your understanding this time seems to be much stronger than ever before. What exactly did you understand?" "I understood something that I have always ignored." Shuzian's voice is quite magnetic, and people can feel relaxed just by hearing it. "What is it?" Minister Cao swallowed his saliva and became more curious. Looking at the prince's expression, this understanding will be extremely shocking. Falling flowers have feelings, but flowing water is ruthless. What I have always ignored is the feelings of the Empress for me. Shuzian gently let go, and the cherry blossoms flew away with the wind. "Are you talking about the Qingyu Empress?" Minister Cao was shocked and stunned for a moment. "That's right. Everyone knows that Empress Qingyu is as cold as frost. I once thought that Empress would not fall in love with anyone. But today's realization made me realize that I was wrong." Shuzian looked up at the sky with disappointment. "Minister Cao, have you heard the recent rumors about Empress?" "Forgive me for my incompetence. I don't seem to have heard of it." "That's right. You are not destined to be together. How can you know the meaning of falling flowers?" Shuzian shook his head and suddenly said, "There are rumors that Empress is in love." "What?" Minister Cao opened his eyes wide. "Unbelievable. Don't be surprised. You have been with me for so long. Don't you know how to be calm when dealing with things? It was my fault. But..." Minister Cao's forehead was inadvertently sweating. "If Empress is really in love, wouldn't you be the same, Prince? Hey, you probably forgot to ask who Empress is in love with." Shuzian's mouth was filled with a confident smile. "Could it be you, the prince?" Instantly, Minister Cao was stunned. "Yes, this is the truth I realized today." Shuzian put his hands behind his back, raised his head and chest inadvertently, full of confidence. This old minister really didn't expect it. However, the prince has almost never had contact with the Empress. How did he judge that the Empress had feelings for you? Minister Cao still couldn't believe it. "It's very simple, because the Empress smiled at me 3 times. 3 smiles. That's right. First, I sent an envoy to Tianyun Palace to give the Empress a valuable gift, but the Empress sneered and slapped the envoy away. I think the Empress's sneer was definitely not directed at the envoy, but at me. Although it was a sneer on the surface, it was actually a hidden emotion. Second, I heard that the Empress, who is always as cold as a mountain, once smiled slightly during a conversation with the Saint of Flowers. Although it was just a slight smile, it became a good story in the world. I thought about it, what could the Empress smile about? I think I am the only man in the world who can match the Empress. The Empress must have smiled because she remembered me. Shu Xian pondered for a while. As for the third point, it further confirms my thoughts. The Empress's third smile is exactly the white clouds in the sky. As he spoke, he pointed to a few white clouds floating in the sky. Look, does the shape of this cloud look like the Empress's beautiful smile? Minister Cao suddenly touched Shu Xian's head. Fortunately, Prince, you should be fine. What did you say? Are you questioning what I said? There is conclusive evidence for everything I said. Thief Cao, is it possible that you are also secretly jealous of the Empress's devotion to me and want to try to break us up? Shu Xian suddenly frowned and became angry. Of course not, veteran. Minister Cao suddenly showed an extremely excited expression. Old minister, I am just too excited to believe it. Unexpectedly, the Empress would show mercy to the prince. It seems that Empress King really loves the prince secretly. With the prince's current enlightened body, it may not take long for him to be fully capable. When the time comes, marrying the Empress, unifying the dynasty and shocking the world will be just around the corner. Minister Cao looked at the sky with tears of gratitude. Unexpectedly, the Emperor's grace is so great, and the Taja's spirit in heaven also protects the prince. In the future, under the leadership of the prince, our Yufeng dynasty will finally move towards endless prosperity. Well, the reason why I keep you by my side is because you are very practical and will not lie like some villains. When this prince ascends the throne to marry the Empress in the future, I will give you a great reward. Shu Xian patted Minister Cao with great satisfaction. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Shock, the love letter was sent to the Empress by mistake. Author, Mozuzi. Chapter 77. Seeing that the dignified prince of Yufeng dynasty was also in the holy land of flowers, not long after, a dozen people gathered around Shu Xian enthusiastically, trying to flatter him. I have admired the crown prince for a long time. I never imagined that it is such an honor for us to be able to see the crown prince's face today. I am so lucky to be able to see the prince today. Greetings to the crown prince. If the crown prince needs you in the future, we in Chixiao Kingdom are willing to follow Prince Chu forever. Many of these people are people of extremely high status. Among them, Yin Mingda, the eldest prince of the Chixiao Kingdom, Zhuang Jinyao, the chief female disciple of the Baiyu Palace, and Wen Junzi, the direct disciple of the Wanzang section, are the most prominent. But while everyone was gathering around and flattering him, Shu Xian suddenly closed his eyes and raised his head slightly in the air. At the same time, a mysterious aura swept around him like a whirlpool. Just standing next to him makes you feel like you are listening to the melody of the Great Road, which is endlessly mysterious. Prince, you are enlightened again. This time, Minister Cao looked helpless and seemed to have become accustomed to it. After a long time, Shu Xian finally slowly opened his eyes, and his aura improved slightly. Suddenly, Yin Mingda and others burst into cheers. The prince is so powerful. I never thought that the true form of enlightenment could be so terrifying. He can understand it again simply. With the prince's strength and understanding, I think it won't take long for him to achieve even more transcendental achievements. By then, maybe even the Empress. Shu Xian finally smiled slightly. Although we didn't know each other before, from today on, you are my prince's closest friends. What I like most is people who can speak their minds. I really hope that there can be more upright and outspoken monks like you in the world. But as he spoke, he suddenly sighed sadly, and seemed to mutter subconsciously. For example, Nai Chen, a disciple of Tianyun Palace who became famous a few days ago, is a hypocritical and evil villain. It is really disgusting. I didn't expect that the prince would be so approachable and treat us as friends. A few of them just wanted to be able to curry favor with Shuzian, but they didn't expect that Shuzian would treat them with such an attitude, and they were immediately moved. Thank you for your treatment, Prince. I'm afraid Nai Chen is indeed a villain. We happened to have something to say and wanted to say goodbye first, and then come back to see the prince later. Yanmingda turned around and left with the rest of the geniuses from all over the world. Several people looked at each other inadvertently, their eyes surprisingly consistent. This is an opportunity to show loyalty to Shuzian. If you can seize this opportunity to suppress Nai Chen, you will not only be able to make a name for yourself through Nai Chen, but you will also be able to take advantage of Shuzian's lap. The benefits are simply self-evident. Looking at the people walking away, Shuzian had a smile on his face. The reactions and attitudes of several people had already been expected by him. To kill with a borrowed knife and to suppress Nai Chen, he didn't even need to take action himself. Minister Cao also bowed slightly and praised, "The prince is really far-sighted." "Yeah, but I originally planned to use Laiyan Gukanziaming, one of the few people in the world who can compare with me. The value of these people is far less than him. Indeed, it's a pity that Chen Xiuming hasn't come yet. Otherwise, with his current strength second only to that of the crown prince, it would be as easy as trying to overturn Nai Chen." Minister Cao responded. But at this moment, the two of them stared at the Holy Land of Flowers at the same time. The flag of Tianyun Palace fluttered in the wind and fell to the ground with the spirit ship. Several figures walked out, and the leader was Nai Chen. Nai Chen. In an instant, there was a fierce look in Shuzian's eyes. "Sisters, he is here." At this time, the dozen female disciples who were quietly hiding behind the tree all turned their attention to Nai Chen. Each of these female disciples is gorgeous and has an alluring appearance. Placed in any sect, it is enough to be regarded as a card in the sect. Many monks noticed that these female disciples all had dull eyes and dazed expressions. I feel that such beautiful scenery can only be seen in the Holy Land of Flowers. But they soon discovered that these women walked out from behind the trees with light lotus steps and headed straight towards the entrance of the Flower Holy Land. And there, everyone from Tianyun Palace, headed by Nai Chen, happened to walk in. "Senior brother Nai, although I have heard about your deeds, I never thought you were so powerful. It is simply unimaginable that Ming can win with just a few moves against that adult. Except for brother Nai Chen, among my peers, there are probably very few people in the world who can defeat Chen Xiuming. Let alone achieve that kind of easy crushing." Following Nai Chen, several Tianyun Palace disciples began to pursue him sincerely. But as soon as they finished speaking, they suddenly discovered that in the distance, there were more than a dozen female disciples with beautiful faces, as beautiful as the stars in the sky, running towards this direction one after another. Not only are these female disciples talented, but their clothes are also light and colorful. It looks like a flower in bud, extremely eye-catching. How have these disciples ever seen such a wonderful scene? He was completely stunned for almost an instant. But the next moment, these running girls squeezed them away and surrounded Nai Chen. The disciples of Tianyun Hall were stunned for a moment, and then they immediately became sad. They thought that their good fortune had finally come, and their handsome appearance was finally recognized outside Tianyun Hall. But they didn't expect that the final result was still senior brother Nai. This is too much. How can a shrimp still be so heartless? "Senior brother Nai, I finally see you. You are so handsome, even more handsome than the portraits circulating in the market. Brother Nai Chen, I have been waiting for you for too long, and finally I have you. Senior brother Nai. In just a moment, Nai Chen was surrounded by layers of people. Nai Chen frowned slightly, his eyes were stern. This scene was obviously wrong. Could it be that someone deliberately wanted to confuse his mind, or frame him? But I am a gentleman, how could I be tempted by beauty? The aura accumulated in Nai Chen seemed to be more and more majestic. But before he started to explode completely, he felt a female disciple suddenly approaching him, and then he felt a soft feeling behind him. Nai Chen. Before he could react. Arms, chest, all around Nai Chen's body, 360 degrees, seemed to be as soft as a sponge. Moreover, the fragrance continued, refreshing and intoxicating. Brother Nai. Brother Nai. Brother Nai. Hiss. Nai Chen took a breath of cold air. Finally, he coughed twice, and the noble spirit of a gentleman disappeared. I, Nai Chen, will never reconcile with gambling and drugs. Shock, the love letter was sent to the Empress by mistake. Author, MaleProtagonist. Chapter 78. It's like being immersed in countless soft cotton, with waves coming from time to time, making the feeling clearer. Nai Chen couldn't help but close his eyes comfortably and immersed himself in it. But suddenly, he woke up suddenly and felt a cold sweat on his back. Looking around at an extremely fast speed, Nai Chen didn't seem to see Chu Qingyu anywhere. But for some reason, at that moment, he seemed to feel an extremely high level of killing intent. Although this murderous intention came and went quickly, it was as if it had never existed. But that feeling is extremely real. Nai Chen couldn't help but feel scared. Although his wife was not nearby, if this scene was seen, the consequences would be unimaginable. Everything is inferior, only my wife is superior. How can I, Nai Chen, be addicted to beauty? Suddenly, Nai Chen seemed to exude righteousness. A ripple shook several soft bodies lying on him away, and Nai Chen's eyes were full of awe. Get out of the way, you stinky woman. Don't disturb my determination to practice. He looked so decent under this scene. The female disciples who were knocked away were a little stunned. They received a mission from the Blossom Saint, and they came here just to try to seduce Nai Chen. But he didn't expect that he was about to succeed, but suddenly failed at the important moment. Is there really any man in the world who can have such determination? At the same time, Nai Chen pointed at these female disciples and spoke earnestly, seemingly extremely sad. I know that I am indeed handsome and charming. But just like this, you can't control yourself at all. Do you want to commit yourself to me? You are wrong. On the path of spiritual practice, the most important thing is to be single-minded and loyal. Although you can't control yourself, my heart is already firm. Don't say 10, even if it were 100, I wouldn't even blink an eye. Okay, that's good. Instantly, a burst of cheers erupted from the surrounding area. No wonder Nai Chen's qualifications and talents are so terrifying. It turns out that his state of mind is so strong. I have been walking around the world for hundreds of years, and I have never seen such a determined young man. Rare, rare. If you are not good at beauty and have a firm Taoist heart, your future will be boundless. Praises were heard one after another, and many people were filled with admiration for Nai Chen's upright style. Nai Chen seized the opportunity and reprimanded these female disciples of the Flower Holy Land in an upright manner. From the point that spiritual practice should start with cultivating the mind, he listed countless famous people's deeds with a firm mind and taught countless great principles. After talking for an unknown amount of time, Nai Chen looked seriously at the dozen or so beautiful female disciples. Do you all understand? I understand, senior brother, we were wrong. We shouldn't have done such a ridiculous thing. Brother, I don't dare to do it anymore. Most of the female disciples close to him were deeply affected and couldn't help but burst into tears with shame. Under a ray of sunshine, Nai Chen standing in front of them looked even more upright. I didn't expect Nai Chen to actually hold on. I didn't expect this result at all. In the Holy Land's palace, looking at the image in the crystal ball on the table, the Blossom Saint smiled. King Yu, don't you express your opinion? She looked at the cold Chu King Yu. What can I say? Nai Chen is just a relatively ordinary disciple of my Tianyun palace. Although her tone of voice was still extremely cold, Chu Qingyu couldn't help but glance at the crystal ball quietly. The Blossom Saint Maiden smiled coquettishly. Qingyu, please stop hiding it. What am I hiding? Of course, you have a friend who likes Nai Chen. You're kidding, when have I ever had a friend like that? Besides, the disciples of Tianyun Palace have never been allowed to fall in love. How could it be possible? Chu Qingyu's originally cold expression suddenly changed slightly, and in an instant, even her heart beat faster. Really? That would be great. But at this moment, the soft and touching voice of the Flower Saint came. The light in his eyes was clear, like clear water. She smiled and pulled her collar, softly and with a bit of charm. Actually, I just happened to have fallen in love with Nai Chen's handsomeness and wanted to commit myself to him. Since you, King Yu, are not interested in him, and none of your friends are interested in Nai Chen, then I can give it a try as a matter of course. As she said that, she seemed to be walking out of the palace with a bit of excitement. Click. But in an instant, an extremely cold sword energy mixed with rolling imperial power swept past. The roof of the palace, which was condensed and solidified using countless formations, was cut off by a sword. Click, click. The glazed jade stone shattered into pieces and fell to the ground, falling into pieces. The Blossom Saint looked at the edge of her severed sleeve and felt a chill in her back. If the sword strike just now had been slightly to the right, my arm would have been gone on the spot. King Yu, you are too cruel. The Flower Saint Maiden looked mournful, and tears seemed to be about to flow down her face. If you say any more, I will kill not only this palace, but you as well. Chu Qingyu's eyes were cold, and her body exuded a chill. King Yu, you are so cruel. The feast at the Flower Holy Land lasted for a long time. The monks who came here ate delicacies and communicated with the major forces from all over the world. Finally, the vine pillars holding delicacies slowly descended and merged into the soil. The delicacies on the plate were also swallowed up. The Flower Saint walked out slowly, her graceful figure bathed in the golden sunlight. Her sacred and beautiful face was fascinating. Thank you all for coming to the feast at the Flower Holy Land. Monks from all over the world gathered here. The time just now was the first link, which was to provide you with a gathering and conversation. I hope this opportunity can bring stronger cohesion to the righteous path of the world. Next, it is the second link. The Flower Saint's green fingers clenched in the air. Suddenly, the lingering music echoed in the Holy Land. Accompanied by the petals fluttering in the sky, a figure fell slowly. Fingertips danced, playing the piano. The melody is like the water of a mountain, like a clear spiritual spring, and every note seems to contain spiritual energy. The song is so beautiful. Good. It is worthy of being the holy land of flowers, it is so beautiful. There was applause from all sides. The next step is the second part, making friends with music. I wonder if anyone wants to come forward and try it? The Saint of Flowers looked at everyone. Ding, the task is issued, and the champion of the conference is won. Rewards, skill points 10, number of white feather dharma phases 3, number of times the fairy rope evolves into a fairy level magic weapon *1. Shock, the love letter was sent to the Empress by mistake. Author, Mozuzi. Chapter 79. Nai Chen read the system introduction carefully. Using this evolution, the immortal binding rope can be temporarily evolved into an immortal level magic weapon. Its power can even be used to temporarily control a strong person in the cauldron realm for a period of time. Doesn't that mean? For a moment, Nai Chen suddenly wanted to use this immortal binding rope on his cold wife. But soon, he gave up this idea. Men can't be told that they are fast. Just a short control. Who are you looking down on? However, in addition to the immortal binding rope, the other two rewards are also extremely rare. After all, in the mausoleum, Nai Chen knew the power of the white feather Dharma image. It seems that this reward must be won. On the open ground covered with petals, there are two dazzling crystals 100 meters apart. Through these two crystals, the rhythm will be transformed into substantial ripples. The higher the level of the rhythm and the more beautiful the sound, the stronger the power of the ripples. At this moment, some people have already started to compete. At the beginning, the scale of the competition seemed small. The sound waves emitted were not powerful, and both sides had their own strengths and weaknesses. But as time went on, the competition began to become more and more intense. Top disciples from all over the country came out, and many of them were proficient in music, and they were even more outrageous. Under the transformation of the sound stone, waves of strong sound waves shook around like a fight between gods. The eldest prince of Chixiao Kingdom has won 3 consecutive victories. If this continues, I'm afraid no one will be his opponent. Seeing that the competition was gradually becoming white-hot, Yin Mingda's appearance completely reversed the situation of no one being better just now. Facing 3 opponents in succession, he almost won by crushing them. Not believing in evil, the 2 who rushed up again were easily swept away. For a moment, everyone was shocked, and no one dared to go up to fight again. I didn't expect that the Prince of Chixiao, Yin Mingda, had such a terrifying understanding of music. Although his talent can only be barely considered upper class, he is really strong enough to overwhelm everyone in music. At this time, Nai Chen secretly lit up the music talent in the system mall with 1 skill point. Then, he upgraded his understanding of music to perfection at the cost of 3 skill points. So far, he has reached a terrifying level in terms of musical attainments. Then let me meet him. When everyone was secretly thinking about countermeasures and did not dare to step forward to fight, a voice suddenly came. Then, Nai Chen walked to the sound stone about 100 meters away from Yin Mingda. Is it you? Yin Mingda frowned, but soon, a sneer appeared on the corner of his mouth. I have long heard of Brother Nai Chen's name. I didn't expect that you not only have outstanding cultivation and excellent talent, but also seem to have unique insights on this music. In this case, let me meet you. Come on. Nai Chen nodded calmly. A guhan appeared in Yin Mingda's hand. Although he said polite words, Yin Mingda was merciless. The fingers touched the guhan and flashed like a phantom in an instant. The fingertips were like dancing, not only extremely fast, but also impossible to catch. As the strings vibrated, bursts of rapid notes floated from it. It was like thousands of troops, ambushed from all sides. The majestic momentum between the strings and the music was breathtaking. The sound stone absorbed the sound of the guhan and the light was bright. Even people who don't understand music at all can fully feel how amazing this blow will be. However, facing the scene in front of him, Nai Chen was not in a hurry, and also constructed a long zither with spiritual power. As if without using any skills, his 5 fingers seemed to draw 7 strings from above. But suddenly, an extremely strong light burst out from the sound stone. Then, the ripples of air that far exceeded all the power in the past suddenly spread. Just one blow, and Yin Mingda's long-prepared blow was instantly defeated. Nai Chen casually played the zither again. Crack. Amid the sound of shattering, the sound stone in front of Yin Mingda was shaken to have a crack. Crack, crack. The crack spread rapidly, and it seemed that it would spread throughout the entire sound stone. How did this happen? In an instant, the onlookers were shocked. Although many of them had a cultivation level far beyond Nai Chen, they only had a superficial understanding of music. It was unimaginable that Yin Mingde crushed many people on the field with his own strength. How did Nai Chen defeat him so easily with just 2 random fingers? Even though they had heard of Nai Chen's reputation, they still couldn't suppress their shock at this moment. I heard that the Empress drew her sword and killed Emperor Honghui that day, and it seemed that it was because Emperor Honghui almost hurt Nai Chen in the mausoleum. I didn't dare to believe it at first, but now. No wonder the Empress values him so much. This boy's methods are really incredible. Although those rumors that the Empress has feelings for him are definitely false, they are enough to prove how much the Empress values Nai Chen. Amid the astonishment and discussion of the crowd, Yin Mingde could no longer resist. Facing Nai Chen's offensive, he was simply being crushed unilaterally. Since you want to show your loyalty to the prince, why don't you all come together? At this moment, Yin Mingde suddenly gritted his teeth and shouted loudly behind him. Several people, including the chief female disciple of Baiyu Palace, Zhuang Jinyao, and the disciple of the head of Wanzang sect, Wen Junzi, seemed to hesitate for a moment, but soon, they stood up and stepped forward. Zhuang Jinyao touched the pipa with her fingers, Wen Junzi beat the drum, and Yurui played the horn. The various melodies mixed with Yin Mingde's piano sound, and it was like a complete band. In an instant, the sound stone cracked and recast, bursting out with a force far greater than before. Boom! The 2 waves of air collided at one place and dissipated at the same time, just a tie. Huh! Nai Chen was stunned and threw down the piano. Referee, I report. These people are shameless, breaking the rules and hitting one more. The saint didn't say that this music competition can only be one-on-one. Yin Mingde had a sneer on his face. Everyone looked at the Saint of Flowers who was sitting in the distance with the Queen of Qingyu. The Saint of Flowers smiled awkwardly. I didn't mention this rule. The guests watching were also a little confused. It is common sense that the rules of the martial arts world should be unified, but if the Saint did not mention this issue, then many to one does not violate the rules. However, isn't this a bit unfair? So what if it's an unfair victory? Today, I will show everyone how embarrassed you, Nai Chen, are in front of all the sections. Yin Mingde laughed teasingly and stared at Nai Chen coldly. You are shameless, bullying me without help. Nai Chen was silent for a moment. But suddenly a light bulb went off in his head. By the way, if that's the case, didn't the Saint of Flowers say that you are not allowed to hit people with fists during the competition? Suddenly, Nai Chen raised his hand with a chilling smile on his face. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Shock, the love letter was sent to the Empress by mistake. Author, MaleProtagonist. Chapter 80. There was a moment of silence. Is this a brain circuit that people can come up with? That's right, I only said that defeating the opponent counts as victory, but I didn't say that you can't take action. Faced with Nai Chen's question, the Flower Saint also smiled slightly. That's easy to say. Nai Chen pressed his finger bones together with a click sound and stepped forward step by step. Holy girl, fighting is a barbaric and rude act. You can't let him cause trouble in the Holy Land. Yin Mingde panicked instantly. It's just a competition. Whether you lose or win depends on your personal abilities. I won't get involved. The Flower Saint looked at Chu Qingyu with her beautiful eyes, seemingly not caring about their affairs at all. At this time, Nai Chen had already approached, with a ferocious smile. You guys teamed up to get me. Not me. Ah, a gentleman talks but doesn't do anything, so don't push yourself too far. Damn it, we fought hard with you, how can it be that there are so many of us and we can't beat one of you? However, it was not easy to make up his mind to face Nai Chen. However, they discovered that the strength that they thought was good was as vulnerable as a child in front of Nai Chen. As each punch landed, screams sounded one after another. These are either princes, princesses, or chief disciples. Each and every one of the younger generation figures with prominent backgrounds and reputations could only be beaten until they were unable to fight back. Ah, it hurts me so much. Nai Chen, Father Nai, Grandpa Nai, I don't dare anymore, please be gentler. I was wrong, I shouldn't have provoked you. Seeing his young master being beaten until his teeth were all over the floor, he cried and howled. His young lady was beaten so hard that her heart collapsed and she doubted her life. Several powerful old men couldn't hold back the anger in their hearts and wanted to step forward and fight Nai Chen. But as soon as they took a step, they suddenly felt a cold murderous intent sweeping through their entire bodies. Inadvertently looking towards the source of the killing intent, several people instantly saw the extremely cold eyes of Empress King Yu. In an instant, it was like being swallowed by frost. Several people seemed to be completely enveloped in boundless fear, and they did not dare to move at all. Nai Chen's laughter became more and more weird and terrifying. Ha ha, if you scream, no one will come to save you even if your throat is broken. Senior brother Nai, no. Etc. Why do what I say sound like the speech of a villain? Suddenly I realized that I seemed to have almost set a huge flag. Nai Chen quickly straightened his clothes and instantly regained his decency. Although I defeated these young people with fists and kicks, since this competition is a competition of music and temperament, I will play another song. Nai Chen sat quietly on the ground, stroking the long piano. The breeze blew by, causing the grey robe on his body to flutter gently. Nai Chen has a jade-like face and a heroic appearance. This scene is actually particularly fascinating. Accompanied by the sound of the piano, Nai Chen opened his mouth and sang. That's the person I miss and love so much day and night. How can we convey the expression in our heart? Will she accept me? Or it makes me feel concerned. Although love is out of reach, I will never give up. Flowers bloom and fall, where are you? The sound of the piano is lingering, and the beautiful singing can't help but make people a little intoxicated. Especially this exotic, never-heard melody is so fascinating. But no one noticed. Across the bustling crowd, Nai Chen was singing a song, but his eyes were always looking into the distance. And that direction. Even though the crowd is blocked, at this moment, everything around him seems to have turned into a side story. Looking at each other, Chu Qingyu knew clearly that it was her who Nai Chen was looking at. I love you, like the clear moon hanging high in the sky, like that. As the melody changed, Nai Chen's singing became even more beautiful. But when everyone was immersed in this beautiful and strange singing, only Chu Qingyu noticed the lyrics. Every sentence in this sentence is an affectionate confession. Idiot, he actually has the nerve to sing such a song in front of so many people. Inadvertently, Chu Qingyu's originally cold face was stained with an extremely lovely blush. She had the same cold expression as always, but also had a somewhat resentful but gratifying smile. Thousands of words, I love you. The 7 strings of the piano fluctuated together, and Nai Chen loudly shouted the words. She looked affectionately in Chu Qingyu's direction for a long time before finally turning her eyes away. Suddenly, it seemed that I couldn't hold on anymore. The sound stone that continuously absorbed Nai Chen's melody finally couldn't support it at all. Boom! In a violent sound, the sound stone exploded, and a dazzling beam of light shot into the sky. The light scattered in all directions, and actually a little bit of red light gathered to form a large heart shape, floating in the air. I don't know if it's because of the light, or if it's just like this. The blush on Chu Qingyu's cheeks was so beautiful that it made people's hearts flutter. But at this moment, almost everyone's attention was completely attracted by this song. This song should only exist in heaven, how many times can it be heard in the human world? Even the sound stones provided by the Holy Land exploded because they could not withstand the mysterious music, which shows how terrible Nichen's control and understanding of the music is. Okay. It sounds so good. Unexpectedly, this Nichen not only has terrifying cultivation aptitude, but his musical skills are also beyond comparison. I am afraid that if Shuzian did not have the true body of enlightenment, he would have won the title of the most talented person. Such a melody makes me feel amorous and want to fall in love. Only Chu Qingyu remains silent, with light flowing in her eyes, as affectionate as water. It even felt as if the speed of her heartbeat was completely out of control. Well, you are worthy of being a disciple valued by Qingyu. In terms of music, I believe that no one in the younger generation can compare to Nichen. The Saint of Flowers smiled and clapped her hands, but suddenly, she looked at Chu Qingyu playfully. Qingyu, why don't you give us an evaluation? In an instant, the eyes of many cultivators gathered in the Holy Land all converged. This emperor is very satisfied. Chu Qingyu pretended to be indifferent and nodded calmly. She glanced at Nichen, but her eyes moved away in an instant. Well, Nichen's performance is slightly in line with this emperor's expectations, and he lives up to the reputation of the Tianyun Hall's deacon disciple. After the banquet is over, this emperor will verbally reward him. Haha, you are worthy of being the empress. Such a great contribution is only a verbal reward. However, although this verbal reward does not sound so precious, if I can be verbally rewarded by the empress once, I will wake up with a smile in my dreams. Although they said so, most people felt that this reward was a bit small. Only Nichen smiled slightly and pursed his lips lightly. Verbal reward. Naturally, only he understood the meaning of this sentence. Shock, the love letter was sent to the empress by mistake. Author, MaleProtagonist. Chapter 81. Crack. Looking at the scene in front of him, Shuzian exerted force in his hands and crushed the treasure fan that had been repeatedly tempered and was worth 1,000,000 gold. Prince, there are too many people here, it's not convenient for you to do it. Seeing Shuzian's furious expression, Minister Cao hurriedly dissuaded him. This prince naturally knows. Shuzian gritted his teeth and couldn't swallow his anger. Do you know who I hate the most? I don't know. Minister Cao bowed. What I hate most is those self-righteous fools who think that others admire them. That ridiculous Nichen thought that he could attract the empress by doing some ugly clown-like behavior. But how could he know that the empress had smiled at me 3 times and her heart had already belonged to me? This kind of self-defeating waste is really disgusting. Minister Cao was stunned for a moment and nodded repeatedly, the prince is right. After saying this, Shuzian's anger seemed to dissipate a little, but he still stared at Nichen coldly, clenching his teeth. This prince will let him live for a few days. But since he dares to have evil thoughts about the empress, when he leaves the Holy Land of Flowers, I will definitely use the most cruel means to make him experience all the pain before dying. At this moment, the music competition ended with Nichen crushing everyone, and the whole audience was in an uproar. After the Saint of Flowers suddenly stole a glance at Chu Qingyu, she stood up slowly, her voice filled with holiness. Nichen will take the first place in the second part of the ceremony, and then. Xiuming, today I will definitely avenge you. At this moment, the voice of crying interrupted the Saint of Flowers. Then, a strong killing intent and anger suddenly filled the air. Many cultivators followed the sound and looked in the direction of the sound, but when they saw the figure clearly, they suddenly widened their eyes and felt fear in their hearts. Lei Guzi. This seemingly thin old man holding a cane is the first supreme elder under the seat of Emperor Lei Yan. Lei Guzi's bloodthirsty eyes swept through the crowd and suddenly locked onto Nichen. It was you who destroyed all the meridians in Xiuming's body and completely shattered his foundation. Now, he is no different from a disabled person and can no longer practice. Boy, you dare to destroy our rare genius in Leiyan Valley. Today, I will peel off your skin and pull out your bones. He destroyed Cheng Xiaoming. No wonder Cheng Xiaoming hasn't come yet. Instantly, many cultivators were shocked at the same time. Even if Nai Chen's reputation is already loud enough because of the three emperors' tomb, in their eyes, it is not as good as Cheng Xiaoming's reputation. After all, as a rare genius in Laiyan Valley, he inherited all the inheritance of Emperor Laiyan and was treated with all the preferential treatment by Lai Guzi. The name of Cheng Xiaoming's genius has long been known everywhere. There are countless frictions in the secret realm or during the training. The young disciples of various forces can only serve as a foil to Cheng Xiaoming, and they are far from being able to even compare with him. There is probably no force in the world that dares to attack such a genius who inherited the legacy of the great emperor. As a result, he was destroyed by Nai Chen alone. Could it be that Nai Chen is stronger than I thought? This boy's strength and identity are really unfathomable. It seems that I must entrust this matter to my disciples after returning home. How terrible are Nai Chen's methods with the power of one person. Just as many cultivators were amazed in their hearts. Suddenly, a sense of oppression accompanied by a strong murderous aura enveloped them. Middle stage of the sea-opening realm. Countless people's eyes suddenly stagnated. They had never expected that Lei Guzi had quietly broken through to this realm in such a short time. This time, Lei Guzi seemed to have completely moved his murderous intent. His eyes locked onto Nai Chen firmly, and his figure turned into a lightning that was undetectable and quickly disappeared from the spot. Suddenly, a lightning flashed in the air, and Lei Guzi's shadow enveloped him. He was less than 100 meters away from Nai Chen, and he was full of murderous intent. This old thing. Although he has faced many powerful enemies so far, Nai Chen has never felt such a strong sense of oppression. The seemingly small lightning on Lei Guzi's body seems to contain endless power. This kind of thunder method is far beyond the level of Cheng Xiaoming's three-legged cat. Being firmly locked by him, even with the extremely fast speed brought by the Xiangu Saint body, Nai Chen inexplicably felt that he had nowhere to escape. However, the thunder that seemed to be enough to annihilate everything came to an abrupt end. Who dares to stop me? Lei Guzi looked angrily and found that it was Empress Qingyu who blocked this attack. Empress Qingyu, this boy completely destroyed the fairy seedling of my Laiyan Valley that only appears once in 1,000 years. No matter what, I must kill him today. You stop me. Do you want to recreate the scene of the three emperors besieging your Tianyun palace 100 years ago? Lei Guzi's eyes were bloodshot, and he was already furious. Many cultivators around knew that what he said was true. Cheng Xiaoming, as a peerless immortal seedling, inherited all the inheritance of Emperor Lei Yan, and is almost the future successor of Laiyan Valley. His existence is self-evident to Laiyan Valley. Now that Cheng Xiaoming has been completely abolished, it will definitely attract the wrath of Emperor Lei Yan. When the three emperors faced Empress Qingyu, they huddled together for warmth. If they were allowed to seize this opportunity, they would probably do their best to avenge the grudge of 100 years ago. Die. At this time, Lei Guzi, with bloodshot eyes, could no longer control his anger. Endless thunder roared from his body, like the roar of a tiger and a dragon, with terrifying power. This attack went straight to Nai Chen. Did this emperor ask you to move? Suddenly, a cold voice came from behind. Lei Guzi, who had already killed many people, thought that even if he faced Empress Qingyu, he would never be as afraid as before. But he found that he was wrong. This cold voice seemed to contain supreme imperial power. In an instant, Lei Guzi felt as if his whole body was covered with ice, stiff and trembling. Bang! A wave of cold and piercing air suddenly swept over, and Lei Guzi, who was about to kill Nai Chen, was instantly swept away. Do you want to be enemies with the three emperors at the same time? Lei Guzi was furious, suppressing the trembling in his heart, and wanted to kill Nai Chen again. But the next moment, he suddenly felt a chill in his abdomen. Then there was a trace of pain. Legoza looked down in horror and found a blood mark that spread across his entire waist. The flesh and blood were blurred, and half of his waist was cut off by a sword. Pain, fear, and a dark feeling as if being swallowed by the abyss came instantly. Legoza's pupils shrank sharply, and his heart was completely filled with fear. But the monstrous frost sword mark had already swept to his face, and he felt as if his body was cut in half. All the sounds were silent, only the blood flowed down. Plop! Legoza's body fell to the ground and never got up again.